Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are delighted to welcome back to the program after a long absence, Sue Lowden, former state senator, former state party chair for the Republican Party, and now running for lieutenant governor.
Thank you for having me back.
Always a pleasure. So let's start out with business. Now, you and your husband own casinos, correct? In Lowden still?
We own one small casino in Lowden, which I invite everybody to come to.
Okay, which is?
The Pioneer Hotel and Gambling Hall.
Okay, and how is it doing these days?
It's doing better. The Lowden market is a tough market because there's no airport that serves commercial airlines. There's some charters that go in.
Right, in Bullhead City.
In Bullhead City. It's unfortunate that that airport wasn't built originally on the Nevada side. I think it would have been a good thing to expand for McCarran. It could have been our international airport eventually because we have all that land in Lowden. But it was put on the Arizona side, and it is landlocked over there, and there are no commercial flights. So that makes it very hard to appeal to a broader audience as far as market, our broader market. And our roads going into Lowden, of course, they're great on the Nevada side, but on the California side, especially that Needles Highway, is really in very bad shape after the last floods. I don't know if you followed that down in Clark County, but there's actually huge sinkholes that prevent you from driving on some of the areas. So that is not good for tourism. And prior to that happening, that road is just a bumpy, old, horribly lit road and a dangerous road. So we have our problems. We don't have a convention center. I'm part of the Lowden Economic Development team down there, and we are working on solutions, very much so, working on solutions. But it's not just our place, but all the places have been hit. If you look at the gaming numbers in the last 3 or 4 years, Lowden is last as far as how well we're doing with gaming. It's just a flat market.
And the reason I bring this up is, as lieutenant governor, one of the jobs is economic development. And so what would you want to see happen for Lowden, either through Lowden's initiative or through the county or through the state, to help promote tourism to Lowden? Because it's a great town. I mean, people who've never been there don't get that you're on the Colorado River, you have these little boats that go from hotel to hotel.
Yes.
The biggest problem, it seemed to me, was one, was not a lot of reinvestment into the properties, and two, the rates were so low that you could get a $10, $15 room, and it was a nice room, but when somebody who's never been to a casino town looks at a rate for a room and it's under $100, they're going, I'm not sure.
I never heard that before, so that's interesting that you would say that, because most of our market is very happy that we have affordable rooms, and those who do come to Lowden because it's affordable. It's like Las Vegas used to be 50 years ago. It's like downtown used to be 30 years ago. So our plan for Lowden, I'm glad that you're mentioning this, and I hope everybody in Lowden is going to be watching this, is a couple of fold. We are putting pressure on our federal elected officials to help on the Needles Highway. We have a coalition of owners and managers along the river, of those of us who own the casinos there, and putting pressure on to fix that huge problem. When you can't get in, that's a problem. We're also lobbying our federal officials to try to help with getting commercial airlines. That would be huge. Even one flight a day would mean a world of difference for us. From San Diego, from Albuquerque, you name a place that's not too far away.
But really, I think your best shot is to do what Elko has done over the years, and even Harrah's in Reno and Lake Tahoe, which is to utilize that Bullhead City, Arizona airport for charters to come from all across the country. And I think that the Riverside has done that on and off for years.
They have. The Riverside, Don Laughlin's Riverside really owns the town as far as his market. He's not hurting one little bit because he has those charters. There's no question about it. And we are looking at pooling together to have charters from a number of our casinos that we could go together. We only have ourselves. We only have 400 rooms compared to other hotels that we've had over the years. This is a very small hotel for us. And but we are working, and I am all in helping with special events. You know, we've had Reba McEntire and other people who have been very successful when they come. We have a big Veterans Day celebration coming up. I encourage all of our vets to go to Laughlin and celebrate Veterans Day in Laughlin. We're trying to make it a destination place for veterans to go. So we're trying those kinds of things that are actually working. When we have a citywide event, it works. We'd also like to have a small convention center. You know, if we had a convention center where we could have rodeos, for instance, it's the ideal place for a rodeo, or any of those car races, or, you know, car shows in any way. If we had a place like that, which we are working on, I think that we'd be able to attract citywide conventions that could come to town and would really enjoy themselves right on that river. And Sam, let me just say, my husband and I have a small apartment right on the river, and that river is so beautiful and so fast that we can hear the rush of the water going by when we're in our apartment.
All right, let's take a break. More with Sue Lowden when we come back.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Sue Lowden. She's a candidate for Lieutenant Governor. You've taken on the governor's team, as it were, because the governor anointed Mark Hutchinson to run for this race, and you came in afterwards, and I think that that's a very interesting thing to do. One of the things that everybody is talking about in the political world, and you know this very well, is that it's not about the lieutenant governor's race, but the fact that after the governor gets reelected a couple of years in, that he might take either a run at Senator Reid, or as Billy Vasiliadis said on the program a couple of weeks ago, might take an appointment from the federal government, and so that would mean that the lieutenant governor will become the governor. So my first question to you about this is, do you approve of what the governor's been doing for his time in office so far the last 3 years?
The governor and I go way back to the time when he was an assemblyman and I was a state senator, and we worked very, very well together. And I'm going to remind you, I'm going to take you back in time, and any of you business owners out there who remember this, we took together, it was Assemblyman Sandoval, Assemblyman Gibbons, Assemblyman Heller, the Assemblywoman, the late Kathy Augustine. There was a big group of us down in the legislature at that point, and we took that broken SIIS, workers' compensation system, a state-run system that nobody was happy with. Business owners weren't, employees weren't getting their needs met as far as getting better. If they were injured on the job.
And Governor Gwynn wasn't happy either.
Well, it was Bob Miller.
Right,
so I have
time,
two
yeah.
stories to tell you. So, so we took that broken system, we rolled up our sleeves, and we fixed it, and we privatized it. We, you know, it was totally a bankrupt system in the state. And so my point is that the governor and I have rolled up our sleeves together before, and we've worked well together, and I believe that we will be able to do that again. I've had a long conversation with the governor subsequent to my entering the race, and we get along just fine. We've always have, and we always will, no matter what happens. And it was a private conversation, so I don't want to reveal everything that was said, but there's no doubt in my mind that we will work well together. The other part of your question is that I was around when Bob Miller, Lieutenant Governor Bob Miller, became acting governor of the state of Nevada. And I saw that transition, and I saw how seamless it was, because Governor Richard Bryan embraced the Lieutenant Governor, Bob Miller, and taught him the ropes, showed him everything. He went to all the meetings, he did everything, so that when that happened, when Richard Bryan became U.S. Senator Richard Bryan and Bob Miller became Governor, acting Governor Bob Miller, that was the smoothest transition, and everybody was watching.
Okay, and all of that is nice and all of that is good. But the reality is that Mike Slanker, who is running the campaign for Mark Hutchinson, runs some of the toughest, nastiest campaigns possible. And so no matter your relationship with the governor, who also is consulted by Mr. Slanker, as is Dean Heller, you are in for a very tough race. I mean, Mark Hutchinson on this program said that he anticipates it running about $2 to $3 million. A, are you prepared to put your own money into this to self-fund, or do you think you can raise that kind of money? Because you've been in the roughest campaign of all, as you know. Are you prepared to go through that again?
Well, I wouldn't be in the race if I wasn't prepared to go through that again. I like to run clean races. I believe my record, my reasons why I'm running, and we haven't even gotten into that one.
And you're going to come back. There's so much time.
Yes.
I want to have debates with you and Mark, and there's lots of time to talk before we get to Election Day.
But it's unfortunate that the other side has to say they're just going to run the toughest, meanest campaign.
Well, no, I'm saying that. They haven't done anything yet.
Oh, okay. I thought that somebody said that to you.
No, I'm looking at track record and going,
yes.
You know, if you look at the Sandoval campaigns for Attorney General or for Governor, these were tough, take no prisoners campaigns.
Yes.
And that is the reputation of Mike Slanker, and good or bad, he wins races.
Yes, and so I know that this is going to be a tough campaign, and I'm working very hard to shore up my base. And yes, I intend to raise money. I don't know how much money it's really going to take in the end. You know, I had a lot of money in the U.S. Senate race. I had the most money, and I didn't win. So money's not everything. And, you know, I've put money into that last race, and I may have to put money into this race. I'm not sure. But I am surprised at the amount of support, financial and grassroots support I'm receiving. If I didn't have that kind of support and people encouraging me to get in this race, I wouldn't do it. I did a big 6-8 week run around the state to make sure that people were on board and to see if there was an appetite out there for another candidate in this race. I was fully aware that there was already a candidate who has a tough guy running his campaign. And so if I wasn't sure that I would be competitive, and I wasn't sure that I can win this race, I certainly wouldn't be in it. I'm not in it for a hobby or because I have nothing to do. I'm passionate about our state, and I'm passionate about, I'm the one who has the background in tourism and economic development who can move the state forward, just like we did with workers' comp. If I didn't feel that way, I wouldn't be in the race.
And that's where we have to leave it. Obviously, I want you and Mark to come on the show as often as you want to come on between now and the Election Day. Lots of questions about the past and things that we're going to need to bring up, but this gets us started.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam.
Always a pleasure.